Okay, everybody should have their confronting challenges book out, and everybody should be on page 12. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are still talking in this unit about challenges that the characters are going to face. Let me computer up there. Challenges that the characters are going to face. So in Hercules' quest, we're going to read about a challenge that Hercules has. We're going to see how he overcomes that challenge. So today our job is we're just going to read through it, make sure that we understand the text. We're going to talk about some of the vocabulary words to really make sure we understand what they're talking about in the text. So today we're just reading it and talking about the vocabulary. Tomorrow we'll talk about the characters, we'll describe the characters, we'll talk about a theme that we learned, and the summary. We'll try to make a summary of it, like we practiced last week. So we're working on the same skills as last week, but we're just using a new text for it, okay? Yes, Jose?
Just imagine that big guy, that big giant, is actually the giant from the violet little potato. Yeah.
Okay. So it says Hercules' quest adapted from the 3 golden apples. If it says from, what does that mean?
It's an excerpt.
This is an excerpt. So there is part of this that is a little bit bigger. This is just a piece of the story. That is why they have given us a forward. They're telling us what has already happened. So that when we read this part, it makes sense. So I'm going to read the forward to you, and then we'll get started on the text. Is everybody ready? Okay, it says Hercules was one of the most important figures in Greek and Roman mythology. The courageous Hercules was known for his incredible strength. In Hercules' most famous myth, the hero must complete 12 labors or tasks. So when they say or task, they're telling you the what? Definition. Sorry. I'll put those 2 words together. Definition. Okay, so it says he must complete 12 labors. He must complete 12 tasks or 12 jobs. 12 challenges. One of these labors was to retrieve a treasure of golden apples. For that, he needs the help of the Titan Atlas. So when it says retrieve a treasure of golden apples, retrieve means he has to get them. He's got to get 12 golden apples. Okay, so one of his labors was to retrieve a treasure of golden apples. That is his what?
Challenge.
His challenge, his quest. Yes, both of those mean the same thing. His challenge or his quest. I need this on your paper, please. So this whole text is going to be about Hercules getting those golden apples. But we've already learned about from the forward, he's going to need whose help?
The giant
Atlas, yes. All right, let's move on. Paragraph 1. Read paragraph 1 for us, Macklin, nice and loud. Everybody's following along with your finger, so I know that when I look up, you're with us.
No one but myself can go into the garden of the Hesperides and gather the golden apples. If it were not for this little business of holding up the sky, I would make half a dozen steps across the sea and get them for you, said Atlas.
Okay, so in paragraph 1, we start out with Atlas is talking, right?
Yeah.
And he's telling them that he would go to the garden of Hesperides to get these golden apples, except for he's doing what? Why can't he do it? What is Atlas doing? Why can't he just go to this place?
Because of the sky.
The sky. He's doing what to the sky?
Holding it up.
Holding it up. So Atlas is holding up the sky, but Hercules needs him to go get these golden apples. He's the only person that can go. Where is he going to have to go in order to get the golden apples?
He's going to have to cross. He's going to have to.
Where does he have to go to get the golden apples? Annex? Okay, he has to go across the sea, yes. So it says a dozen steps across the sea. So the place where these apples are is going to be across that body of water. But what else? There's a little bit more. There's a specific place that these golden apples are. Henry?
I'd like to add on to Annex because he does have to take half a dozen steps across the sea, but he has to get to the Garden of Hesperides.
Yes. That is the place where these apples are. Okay? Which is across the sea. But that Garden of Hesperides is the place where the apples are, and to get there, he's got to go across the sea. Now, why isn't Hercules going to get the apples?
Because he's holding. No, why is it Atlas?
Why? No. Why isn't Hercules going?
Oh, because he's too small.
Why isn't Hercules going, Jose?
Because he's small.
No. Macklin?
Because he's not allowed to go in there.
He's not allowed to go in there. It says, no one but myself can go into the Garden of Hesperides. The only person that can go in there is Atlas, right?
Yeah.
But the golden apples that Hercules needs are in there. So it's kind of like if I said, your apples are in that closet, Patrice, but you can't go in there. The only person that can go in there is Marissa. But before you leave today, you have to have those apples. So who needs them?
The tree.
The trees. Who is she going to have to call to help her? Marissa. So Hercules needs the apples, and he's counting on Atlas, right? Now, Atlas can't go because Atlas is doing his own thing, right? What is he doing? Holding up the sky. So we've got quite a bit going on here. Let's look at paragraph 2. Read paragraph 2 for us nice and loud, Layla.
You are very kind, replied Hercules. Can't you rest the sky upon the mountain?
Keep on going.
None of them are quite high enough, said Atlas, shaking his head. You seem to be a fellow of some strength. What if you should take my burden? Burdensome strength. Oh wait. on your shoulders while I do your errand for you.
Okay, so when Atlas tells Hercules, what if you should take my burden on your shoulders while I do your errand for you? What is he telling him?
To take the sky.
What is he telling him, Cash?
That he should hold up the sky while he goes and gets it.
Yeah. He's saying, hey, Hercules, you want me to go get these apples for you? Then I need you to
Hold up the sky.
hold up the sky. Yeah. All right, let's look at paragraph 4.
It's like
Are you talking about on the cover?
sugar maple and a wood
Oh.
because they're helping each other.
Yes. I love the way you're thinking back to those texts.
Raise the roof for extreme.
Do what?
I said raise the roof for extreme.
All right, look at paragraph 4. Read paragraph 4 for us, nice and loud, Cash. Everybody's following along. Paragraph 4.
Now Hercules was a remarkably strong man. If any mortal was capable of holding up the sky, it was Hercules. Nevertheless, it seemed so difficult an undertaking that for the first time in his life he hesitated.
Okay, what does that mean? If it says that he hesitated. So Alice is saying, hey, you take the sky. Look, you take the sky and I'll go get the apples for you. But it says that Hercules hesitated. What does that mean Hercules did? If you hesitate, what does that mean, Patrice?
I think he he was nervous. What if he dropped the sky?
Okay, so somebody asks you to do something and you're nervous about it and you hesitate. What does that mean you do? What do you think, Braylon? You hesitate. What does that mean?
Hesitate means that means he's shy and he gets.
Okay. Okay, so you're right. He is scared. But Patrice, you're right. He's nervous. But I don't want you to describe his feelings. I want you to describe what he's doing. What is that action? If you hesitate, what are you actually doing, Macklin?
You're pausing.
You're pausing. You're taking a minute and you're just waiting and what?
Thinking.
Thinking, like, man, should I do this or should I not? So he's waiting.
Should I do this or should I
Not.
She
What'd
already
you say?
said that. Gotta just hesitate.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
He kind of waited for us to say.
Okay, so he's waiting. He's thinking. He's not sure. He's hesitating. Okay, so Patrice and Braylon, you're right. He's nervous, right? He's scared. But what he's actually doing is taking a minute to wait and think about it. The reason he's waiting and thinking about it, the reason he's hesitating is because he is nervous or scared. Okay? Cadence, do you have this in your paper? Huh? Alright, so let's look at the next paragraph. Paragraph 5. Cody, will you read for us nice and loud?
Is the sky very heavy? He inquired. Why not?
Particularly.
So at first answered the giant,
Shrugging.
his shoulders, but it gets to be a little
Burdensome.
burdensome after 1,000 years.
Okay, so when he says, is the sky very heavy, that's more proof that he feels kind of what? Nervous. It's like, well, is it really heavy? Can I do it? He's not so sure. And then, what does Atlas tell him about how it feels? When he says, why not particularly so at first. What does that mean? What's that mean, Rylan?
It means like it's not really heavy at first, but like it's kind of heavy like when you keep doing it.
Yeah. He says, why not particularly so at first? So I want you to underline not and at first and put those together. He's saying not at first. It's not heavy at first. But it gets to be a little burdensome after 1,000 years. It's kind of like when I go get groceries at Walmart. When I get home, I try to take all the groceries in at one time. I get all the bags.
Yes.
When I first get them out of the cart, I'm doing good. I'm holding them. I'm walking to the house. But by the time I actually get to the door, I'm like, oh. Because they get what? Heavier. My arms start to get tired, right? So that's what he's saying. He says the sky's not heavy at first. But after 1,000 years, it gets pretty heavy, okay? All right, let's look at paragraph 7. All right, read for us paragraph 7. Jose.
And how long a time, asked the hero, will it take you to get the golden apples?
Keep going.
Oh, that will be done in a few moments, cried Agnes. I shall take 10 or 15 miles at a stride and be at the garden and back again before your shoulders begin to ache.
50 miles.
Okay, so he's telling him, hey, I'll be back before you ever start what? To ache. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll be back. You just hold the sky up. I'll be back before it's a problem. So let's read what happens. Read paragraph 9 for us. Cadence.
Well, then answered Hercules, I will climb the mountain behind you, there you, and relieve you of the
Your burden. Keep going.
So without more words, the sky is shifted from the shoulders to Atlas and placed upon those of Hercules.
Okay, so when you look at those two paragraphs, the very first one, it says, well then answered Hercules, I will climb the mountain behind you there and relieve you of your burden. When he says I will relieve you, what does relieve mean? If you relieve someone, what does that mean? What do you think, Enix?
Like you'll let it go.
Yeah, you'll let them go. You will what?
Help
Help them. So if Miss Cherry comes over here and she relieves me, she lets me go. That means she's going to
Help.
she's gonna what?
Take over.
Take over. Yes, if you relieve someone, you take over. You take over their job and let them
Rest.
go, right? Let them rest. So he's saying, I'll take over. Hercules is going to take over for Atlas.
Like she did when you were pregnant.
Yes. And take over or relieve you of your burden. What is his burden? What is the burden that Atlas has, Cash?
The burden is like his burden is that he has to hold up the sky.
Yeah, so he's talking about I will take over the sky. I'll hold it up for you. Okay, you need this on your paper.
It must be pretty hot up there too.
I'm done.
Probably.
Because it said it was on top of my back.
Okay, and then the next paragraph, it says that the sky was shifted from the shoulders of Atlas to who? Hercules. So they have now, he's taken over. All right, let's look at paragraph 11. Read for us, Henry.
When this was safely accomplished.
Hold on just a minute. Everybody's not with us. One, I need you with us. Everybody's following along. I should see your finger there, so I know you're with us. All right, go ahead.
When this was safely accomplished, the first thing the giant did was to stretch himself. Next, he slowly lifted one of his feet out of the other. And then all at once he began to caper.
Hold on. You skipped a line. Let's start that paragraph back over.
When this was safely accomplished, the first thing the giant did was to stretch himself. Next, he slowly lifted one of his feet out of the forest that had grown up around it, and then the other. And then all at once, he began to caper and leap and dance for joy in his freedom. When his joy had a little subsided, he stepped into the sea.
Okay, so there, it says that when he shifted, he lifted one of his feet out of the forest that had grown around it. Why do you think the forest would grow around his feet? What do you know about how long he's been holding this guy up for, Cadence?
Because it says, I believe, in paragraph 6, it says, it gets to be a little burdensome after thousands of years.
Yeah, and I love how you cited that text evidence. She told us where she got it from. In paragraph 6, it says it gets a little burdensome after 1,000 years. If you've been sitting in the same place 1,000 years, are plants going to grow around you?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's been there for 1,000 years. So he's got to step out of the forest. They've kind of grown up around him. It says, then all at once he began to caper and leap and dance for joy at his freedom. It says, when his joy had a little subsided, he stepped into the sea. So what do you think subsided means? He's dancing, he's free. Now the joy subsided and he goes into the sea. What does that mean, subsided? Patrice?
I think it means he was free, like his arms can be out.
Yes, that's true. But it says he was dancing, he capered, he leaped, he danced at the freedom, and then when it has subsided, he went to the sea. So think about when something good happens to you. You're dancing, you're all excited, and then you're like, okay, gotta get to work. I gotta go out into the sea and get these apples. What does subsided mean? Jose?
I think it means like you stop doing it and you just do it.
Yeah, so it had kind of, what would be a word for that? It would
Faded off.
Yeah, the joy has faded. The joy has passed a little bit. Or he's gotten used to it. He's not quite as excited anymore. He's like, okay, I got to get down to business. Yes.
Isn't the word useful?
No.
Wait, what is that?
I don't think
What
that's
is that
right.
second word?
Past. Like the joy's passed a little bit. Yes, Rylan.
We get to subside sometimes because like when we get off track in reading our math or something, then we start talking about like something else and it's like end the thing and like start doing our work.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very true. We have to let it subside, right? Okay, let's move on. Paragraph 12, page 14.
What's the first word?
Hercules.
That's the biggest tree I've ever seen.
All right, is everybody with me? Paragraph 12. Read it for us, Patrice.
Hercules once watched the giant as he still went onward until at the last
The gigantic.
shape faded entirely out of the view.
Okay, so wait just a minute. It says, as he still went onward until at last the gigantic shape faded entirely out of view. What is the gigantic shape?
Him.
Him. So Atlas is walking on the ocean and the sea trying to get those apples. And Hercules is watching him until he can't see him anymore. Okay? You guys have probably seen that. As you get further and further away, you can't see them anymore. Kind of like if your mom is driving out of the driveway. You see her drive out of the driveway, and then as she gets further and further away, eventually you can't see her anymore, right?
Like a plane.
Okay, so it's kind of what's happening here. All right, keep going.
Entirely out of the view, and now Hercules began to consider what he should do in case Atlas should be drowned in the sea, or if he were to be stung to death by a dragon with 100 heads, which guarded the golden apples of the
Hesperides. It's just the name of the garden.
If any misfortune were to happen, how could he ever get rid of the sky?
So he's just thinking about all the things that could go
Wrong.
Let's keep on going. Read for us, Rylan.
I really pitied the poor giant, thought Hercules. If it wearies me so much in 10 minutes, how must it have wearied me in thousands of years? In 1,000 years.
Keep going.
Finally, Hercules beheld a huge shape of the giant, like a cloud on the far off edge of the sea.
What does that mean? If he beheld the huge shape of the giant like a cloud, so he can what?
See him.
See him. He sees him coming back. All right, let's keep going.
At his nearing approach, Atlantis held up his hand, in which Hercules could perceive 3 magnificent golden apples as big as pumpkins, all hanging from one branch.
Okay, so what does this word perceive mean in paragraph 14? It says Atlas held up his hand, in which Hercules could perceive 3 magnificent golden apples. What does that perceive mean? If Atlas is holding up his hands and then Hercules perceives 3 apples, what does that mean? Marissa?
He retrieves it, kind of. Like he gets it.
Not so much gets them. If you perceive something, it's the way that you what?
Look at it.
Layla? See it. Okay? So he can see these 3 magnificent golden apples. As Atlas comes towards him, he's able to see these 3 apples. So perceive means to see. A lot of times people will say the way that I perceive it is. That means the way that I see it is. And most of the time that's when they're talking about their opinion. So like when we were doing the skateboard passage last week, if you had said the way that I perceive it is our town has no money. That would mean the way that I see it, our town has no money. Okay? All right, let's look at paragraph 15. So now he sees that Atlas has the golden apples, but does Hercules have them yet?
No.
No, he can just what?
See
them.
18.
15.
There's paragraph 25.
All right, let's look at 15. Read for us nice and loud. Cash. Is there anyone who's not read today?
Me.
Okay, some of you that haven't read her, I'm calling on you next. Cash, go ahead.
I am glad to see you again, shouted Hercules. When the giant was within hearing, so you have got the golden apples?
Keep going.
Certainly, answered Atlas, and very fair apples they are. I took the finest that grew on the tree, I assure you.
So they're just talking about how Atlas has the
Apples.
All right, read for us, Marissa.
I heartily thank you for your trouble, and now as I have a long way to go and am rather in
haste,
and as the king, my cousin, is anxious to receive the golden apples, will you be kind enough to take the sky off my shoulders again? Asked Hercules.
Okay, so when he says this in paragraph 17, he says, I have a long way to go and am rather in haste So think about that word in haste. You got a long way to go and you're in haste. And it says that the king is anxious. That means the king is in something. Okay, so if you got a long way to go and you're in a
Hurry.
a what?
Hurry.
Hurry. In haste means you are in a hurry. Everybody write that. So he's telling them, hey, will you take this guy back? Because I'm kind of in a hurry. I need to get these apples to the king.
I play a game. There's something called a hasty bee, and it gives you speed. That's how I learned it. That's how I know exactly what it is already.
All right, let's look at paragraph 18. Read it for us.
Annex.
Okay, annex. Go ahead. Paragraph 18.
And one.
Wait, I think we learned in our
Paragraph 18. Go ahead.
Why is to that said the giant, chuckling the golden apples into the air 20 million high, or
Thereabouts.
thereabouts, and catching them as they come down. As to that, my God, friends, I considered you a little
Unreasonable.
Cannot I carry the golden apples to the king, your cousin, much quicker than you could, as his majesty
Mm-hmm.
is in such a hurry to get them. I promise you to take my longest
Strides.
strides, and besides, I have no fancy for burning myself with the sky just now.
So Hercules asked him to take what back?
The sky.
The sky, so he could take the apples to
The
the king. And in this paragraph, Atlas is saying, well, why don't you just let
Me do it.
me do that? Let me take the apples. He says, I can, my strides, a stride is when you walk, like this is your stride. The length between one foot to the other when you walk.
He
Okay.
can't jump.
So he's saying, my stride is so much bigger, I will get there what? Faster, yeah. Alright, so when he says that, and he says, and besides, I have no fancy for burdening myself with this guy just now. What does that mean when he says I have no fancy?
reason.
I have no interest. I have no reason. I have no interest in taking that sky back. I don't want it. Okay, so he says I have no interest. I have no fancy for taking the sky back. Did y'all see this coming?
No.
I didn't either.
Wait, so he's kind of tricking him.
He is tricking him.
I kind of knew that I don't want it.
All right, let's look at paragraph 19. Read for us 1.
Here, Hercules grew
Impatient.
impatient and gave a great
Shrug. Do you know what that means, 1? No. Okay, if you shrug your shoulders, you're like, okay.
I'll do that.
Like, I don't care.
Or if you're impatient, if you're, like, maybe if you're in a hurry, you're like, oh, okay. You kind of shrug them that way, too. So sometimes it's I don't care, and sometimes it's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, that's me.
All right, keep going.
Of his
Shoulders.
But it
Being.
how
Now twilight.
now twilight you
Might. Uh-huh.
have seen 2 or 3 stars tumble out of their places. Everybody on earth looked
Upward.
upward and
In a fright. Thinking.
thinking that the sky might be going to fall next.
Hey, why does everybody think the sky is going to fall? It says thinking the sky might be going to fall next. What made everybody think the sky was going to fall?
holding it. The star.
Huh?
Because it's not holding.
Well, Hercules is still holding it, but what did it say that Hercules did?
Drop.
It didn't say he dropped it.
He let a couple stars fall.
But how did they fall? What did he do? What did we just say?
He
He
tumbled.
shrugged. Remember, his Atlas is saying, well, let me take him. I can go so much faster. And Hercules is holding up the sky, and he shrugs his shoulders. So what's going to move?
Stars.
The sky, the stars. Everybody's thinking, oh, it's going to fall down. Did he really drop it?
No.
No, he's just shrugged it. He's just moved it. Okay?
Kind of like when you're struggling, you kind of move it.
All right, paragraph 20. I'm going to read this one to you. Oh, that will never do, cried Giant Atlas with a great roar of laughter. I have not let fall so many stars within the last 5 centuries. By the time you have stood there as long as I did, you will begin to learn patience. So he's trying to teach him a
Lesson.
Do you really think he's trying to teach him a lesson?
No.
He's lazy.
Trying to trick him. Yeah, All right, so tomorrow we still have 1 page of this text. Tomorrow we will read it, and probably we will read it together, but you will have some vocabulary words to find on your own. We've talked about a lot of the vocabulary words today to make sure we understand the text. Tomorrow I'm going to let you figure out some of those words on your own, kind of like we did last week, okay? So tomorrow we will read page 16. Go ahead and put this in your binder. Writing took quite a bit of time today, so we didn't have as much time for reading. Go ahead and put this in your binder, and then you can pack up for the day.